Duplexes like this one are popping up everywhere across BC, but there's a ton about them that no one is telling you. They come with risks that could cost you thousands, and most buyers have no idea that they even exist. Why? Because these duplexes look like the perfect solution. Families, they see land, a driveway, a yard, and assume that they're finally escaping strata life. But the truth, homebuyers focusing on these style of homes could be getting more than they bargained for in a terrible way. In this video, I'm breaking down the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when buying into these so-called freehold duplexes. Stuff the developers won't tell you, and how to avoid getting stuck with a property that's more headache than home. So if that sounds good, let's get into it.
You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
Okay, so why are we seeing duplexes explode all over BC? Well, that's simple. The government changed the rules. Zoning updates and new housing policies now allow more homes on a single lot. We actually did a video on this very YouTube channel, and it was so popular, it hit over 30,000 views. And this was for really good reason. The community was concerned, but also developers, well, they're jumping all over this. And of course, why wouldn't they? One piece of land, 2 or more homes, double the return, if not more. It's the perfect way to maximize value without building towers or full-on subdivisions. And for the buyer, it looks like a dream, right? You're not in a condo, you've got your own yard, private driveway, real privacy, no elevators, no strata meetings, and of course the best part, no strata fees, right? Like what everybody hates. It really does feel like you're escaping strata life. But here's the reality. If you're buying one of these homes, especially a side-by-side duplex with separate titles, here's the news that you either don't want to hear or didn't want to know. You are still living in a strata, and that's a problem. According to the Strata Property Act, which governs all stratas in the province of British Columbia, any building with 2 or more separately owned units sharing land or structure is legally a strata, period. One legal expert put it, a duplex with 2 titled units is a strata. Full stop. So the issue here, most buyers, well, they don't know this. The property doesn't look like a typical strata, so the red flags get missed. But make no mistake, you're still sharing a lot. Things like liability, the roof, the siding, the insurance, the foundation, maybe the driveway, all technically shared responsibility. This is true for the old duplexes that you see scattered throughout the neighborhoods or the brand new ones like the one I showed you at the start of this video. All of this shared stuff, well, this is where things really start to fall apart, especially with older duplexes. It can get messy and pretty fast, but this is going to be true for new ones too. Usually, there is no formal strata council, no paperwork kept, budgets, anything. All of that stuff makes for a properly functioning strata. Also, typically, there's very little clarity on who's responsible for what. And this is true again for both old and new duplexes as well. Also, there is a need for joint insurance, which can make things really complicated. Now, most of these places, well, they're ran on handshake deals, but when someone sells or stops paying or something breaks, that's when buyers or homeowners who were unaware when they bought suddenly realize this isn't just a quirky setup, it's a legal and financial mess that's waiting to happen. So, what are the top 3 problems that I see with these duplex setups? And I've already mentioned many of them here, but the top 3, I'm going to get into those. Worth mentioning though, before I do, my name is Darren. I am a real estate professional based in the South Surrey and White Rock neighborhoods. I've been helping people buy and sell in these areas since 2007. And a lot of folks who land on this YouTube channel are doing exactly what you're doing, trying to find out what the best ways are to maybe buy a home, sell a home, or even just figuring out if this place is right for them. If you want a local perspective from someone who lives here, works here, and grew up here, book a time in my calendar. Zero pressure, and I'll walk you through absolutely everything that you need to know. Okay, so here is the first mistake. Handshake deals. Assuming everything between the neighbors has already been worked out. Think about this. You show up, you see 2 homes that seem to be coexisting just fine, whether they're new or old, right? So you figure, well, if they've made it work this long, or even if they're new, we're going to be fine too. Not a big deal. But what if you don't see all of the resolutions or lack of resolutions, or know about all of the handshake deals that have taken place over time? These are side deals, quietly holding things together. And in older duplexes, these have been in place for decades. Now, to be clear, I'm talking about informal agreements between past owners. We'll take care of the yard if you handle the roof, or you cover the insurance this year and we'll do it the next year. Or you can build your deck as long as we get the extra parking spot in the driveway. But here's a problem that's incredibly common. None of these agreements are formal. These agreements aren't formally filed in the land titles office like a proper strata would do, also meaning they're not enforceable. And as a new owner, you don't necessarily get access to them. They're not in the contract. They're not in strata minutes because they don't exist. They're just floating out there in thin air. So you might buy into something without even knowing any of this. So when something goes sideways, like a repair dispute or a neighbor who doesn't want to play nice anymore, you've got no legs to really stand on. And even worse, you might be walking into the fallout of a deal you didn't even know existed. That's why buying into one of these properties without confirming the legal structure and without reviewing documented strata records is a huge mistake. Because when those invisible handshake deals fall apart, you are the one, as the buyer, holding the bag. Okay, so if that wasn't bad enough, not scary enough, what is mistake number two? Well, assuming you'll just figure it out later, especially when it comes to money. Things like roof leaks. So you're buying into these and you're thinking, like roof leak, right? Like we'll go 50-50 on it, or we need new siding. Well, we'll just split the cost. That all sounds really good in theory, but what if your neighbor says, actually, that's on your side, or we never agreed to that, or I just don't have the cash right now. I'm sorry, I can't pay. Now, interestingly enough, the Strata Property Act still applies to properties like this. And in this situation, the rules that guide issues like this, even if there's no formal strata council or property manager in place, well, they still exist. But here's the problem. Without shared things like a shared budget, documented communication, financials, collecting money from all owners, or even someone that helps enforce these things or manage them, like a property manager who can enforce cost sharing, can become a legal nightmare. Now, sure, in theory, you can take your neighbor to court and try to recover their share, but that often means lawyers' fees or tribunal hearings and months of stress, all to chase down money that should have been agreed to upfront. So that $10,000 repair that you assumed would be shared, if you want to protect your unit and avoid further damage, you'll likely have to cover it yourself first and then fight to recover the rest. Look, unless you've got clear, documented agreements in place, you're walking into financial uncertainty every year with very little recourse if things go sideways. So we've hit mistakes one and two. And before we hit mistake number three, just a quick heads up. If you're even thinking about buying a home anywhere in British Columbia, whether it's in Surrey, White Rock, surrounding communities, or anywhere, you're going to want to grab a copy of our free PDF 21 grants and rebates for home buyers. We've pulled together every federal, provincial, and niche program that we could find, packed with links, insider tips, and quick ways to save money on your purchase. It's totally free and could save you thousands. So the link to download it is in the description of this video. So go ahead and grab it now. Okay, mistake number three. Underestimating how hard it can be to sell one of these places later, especially if things go sideways. Here's what happens. You move in, everything seems fine until the insurance lapses, or a fight breaks out over something like fence maintenance, or your neighbor just stops responding altogether, or maybe they run into tough financial times. But then it comes time to sell. And now you're the one, as the seller, explaining the lack of insurance. You're the one justifying why there are no strata records, no shared repair agreements, and no functioning structure. The one trying to say the neighbor will foot their portion of an upcoming bill when standing on the sidewalk, you can clearly tell they may be in some very difficult financial times. Well, to buyers, this is a clear red flag. To mortgage lenders, bigger problem. And to lawyers, well, that's a straight up risk. So the end result, more skeptical buyers, potentially fewer offers and more conditions, and maybe even a lower price. All because the issues weren't obvious when you bought in. So, whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, if you don't address these legal and structural issues up front, you're setting yourself up for a stressful, potentially expensive exit from that property. So, what's the bottom line here? If you're buying a duplex in BC or you already own one, you are already in a strata, even if it doesn't feel like one. And that comes with shared responsibilities, legal risk, and relationship dynamics that simply aren't prepared for. Whether it's invisible resolutions, awkward cost splitting, or resale issues, these aren't one off headaches. They are built into how these homes function. Here's something most people miss. Understand what type of home you're actually buying. Just because it looks like a detached house doesn't mean it acts like one. This is not the same as a row home either. And that difference, well, that matters too. And if you want me to break that down, how row homes work in another video, drop a comment below and let me know, and we'll make sure that we do that for you. You're going to want to make sure you subscribe because you likely found this video pretty helpful. And let me know in the comments too if that's the case. And we'll keep doing videos just like this to make sure you are empowered and educated for your next purchase. Because when it comes to these kinds of properties, not knowing is the biggest risk of all. And in fact, in the next video, we're going to dig into why this is happening more and more. And you're seeing duplexes like the one at the start of this video popping up all over town. We're going to talk about what changes the BC government made that now allow duplexes, triplexes, and even fourplexes to show up in neighborhoods that used to be for single family homes only. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, that video is coming up next. So I'll see you over there right now.